Hare Krishna. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Takshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Tatkadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Today's topic is Bhagavad Gita verse 2.13. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. Translation. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Purport. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body, and since it is sure to have another body in next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on the account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from the old to the new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering, according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of constitution of the individual soul, the super soul and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of supreme souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gita, the fragmental portions of the Supreme exist eternally, Sanatan, and are called Shara. That is, they have tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to living entities and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna, and the supreme soul is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the fourth chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then the relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by illusionary energy Maya, then there is no need of being the instructed and the other the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because the clutches of Maya, no one can be authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that the Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity Arjuna, who is forgetful soul deluded by Maya. Now we'll come to the explanation of the verse. Then the verse 2.13, Krishna is saying about the knowledge of the spirit soul. Within this body, there is no mainly the owner of the body, that is the soul, which is continuously passes through different stages of life, that is childhood to youth and old age. Suppose when we look at our childhood pics, it is not the same. We are very different in our childhood pics, but something is constant within the body, but the physical body keeps on changing. That is the appearance. What we see outside keeps on changing, but the inside, the innermost thing always remains the constant, which was same in the childhood level, which was same in the youth level, and which will be same in the old age. Krishna says that there will come a time when the body will become old, my means jara, diseased, and then it will become useless. Then at that time, when this body is no more useful, similarly, just like an old dress, soul will change the body. Soul will move from an old body to a new body. Krishna wants to convey here, Arjuna, that if you are lamenting so much for the death of his relatives, that is Bhishma and Drona, then you should have lamented since the time through that when they were in childhood stage, when they were in youth stage, and now they are in old stage. Arjuna is lamenting that they are going to die in the battlefield if I am going to kill them. But Krishna says that this changing process has started from the childhood of the every living being. So it was not appropriate for Arjuna to just lament on their Jara stage when they are going to leave their bodies in the battlefield. This message Krishna wanted to convey Arjuna and explain him. Change is always at a biological level. Actually, according to the science, every 7 years, about the cells of the bodies are being replaced. Actually, our body gets rejuvenated after every 7 years at a biological level. Physical appearance we cannot make out very differently, but at the cellular level, the work goes on. It is constantly replacing. Krishna is explaining two levels of incarnation. That is the internal incarnation, which is the subtle one, which goes inside our body. And then the external one, which is the change. That is the sudden change which everyone sees, and that is the death, when the soul changes the body finally. We can understand it through an example of a laptop. Suppose we have a laptop, there is some glitch in the laptop or some problem or some processor is not working. We go to the laptop shop and we get the parts replaced. We use a laptop again. But there comes a time when it becomes irreparable and it cannot be repaired. And then we change the laptop, we change the brands. So that is the thing. Internal changes, parts changes, that is our physical phases of life. But finally, when a laptop is being replaced, that is the body is being replaced by the soul for a new one. And in these cases, a wise, who is also known as a sober or a sane person, is not bewildered by these changes. Prabhupada always says that a sober person is one who is not affected by alcohol. And what is the alcohol in this case? Bodily conception of life is like an intoxication, and becoming free of intoxication, which is binding us to this material world, is the alcohol. And a sober person is never bewildered by these changes. He's always static in these jolts of life. Adhira always knows that the soul is eternal and does not lament for the death of the body. This that and this soul is going to pass the body is going to be changed at one time in the old age. That does not mean we should go and kill anyone because we are not this body, we are this soul. That does not give us a license to go and kill anyone. Suppose we live in a country, then government has its rules and regulations. They give the punishment according to right or wrong. We don't have the power to do that. This statement should not be misinterpreted in a way that we can kill because their soul is constant, body has no value. That should not be misinterpreted. And we can understand it through an example. The soldiers on the border, they are allowed by the government to kill their enemies, and they have full authority. They can use their guns, bombs, anything to protect their country. But if same soldier, when he comes home, and if he had some fight with anyone, his neighbors, or he dislikes someone, this does not mean he can kill that person also. So there is a difference. On the border side, he has authority by the government, but at home, he cannot kill on his own will. So actually, this explaining through this example means there should not be blanket killing. There should not be killing under uh, wrongdoings. In case of Arjuna, supreme authority is right in front of him. And based on Krishna, by the order of Krishna, when Arjuna is going to kill these evil people, that is based on dharma. And there will be no punishment for this because the supreme authority is ordering him to kill. Like a government orders a soldier to kill on the borders. We can understand it the same way. Krishna says, do not lament on the death. Krishna says that the body may die, but the soul is eternal and continue to exist. So you should not lament. Soul is changing body every moment, and soul does not undergo any changes. What happens after death? That is a query for everyone. So, the soul transmigrates to the next body, and since it is sure to have a new body, in the next birth, either material or spiritual. So there is no cause of lamentation. This is the main thing Krishna is trying to explain Arjuna in this verse again and again. And the reasons, we can account for some reasons why Arjuna should not lament. Because Krishna is ordering Arjuna to kill Bhishma and Drona. But Arjuna is lamenting, ki one is my guru, one is my relative, how can I kill them? Then the reason is that Bhishma and Drona are noble souls. Anyone who dies, they carry their karma along with them. And according to their karmic reactions, they get either material body or spiritual body. Bhishma and Drona all have already become old. Their energy has already declined as compared to their youth. So when they will be killed, their energy will be rejuvenated. They'll get a new body. And as they have done noble deeds throughout their life, they'll get a material body in a higher planet or a spiritual body, and both are equally good for them, and they will rejoice further also. So being a good well-wisher, Arjuna is being a good well-wisher of Bhishma and Drona, then thinking about this also, he should not lament, and there is no point for lamenting. Next, Prabhupada has focused on Mayavadi theory in this purport. Mayavadi theory is being explained. Prabhupada has clearly refuted Mayavadi theory in this purpose, which is being shown that actually we have to first understand what is Mayavadi theory. And then we'll go to understand what Prabhupada is refuting about Mayavadis. Then according to Mayavadis, what they think that there is a my sense, they have a sense of I, individuality, and that is their biggest problem. All the problems of life, they think all the problems of life, all the miseries of life is due to this state of illusion called Maya. So when the Brahman will come out of the illusion, it will change back into cosmic consciousness. And when I will dissolve and merge back into cosmic consciousness, then all the miseries will end at that time. This is liberation. And this is the main point for them. And at that time, they regain their original position as God. Mainly, in short, we can say they want to merge with God. Prabhupada refuted their theory saying that Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portions. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the supreme soul being unchangeable. Prabhupada always says that a soul always retains its individuality, and soul and supreme Lord is not cleavable. We are the fragments of Supreme Lord, which is Shara, and since time eternal, Sanatan. It is not that yesterday we have become a fragment, we have been dropped from the Supreme Soul, and now we are one fragment, and after being crossing our life, being after death, we'll merge into God again. That does not happen. These fragments have existed since time eternal, and every individual has their identity, and even when we go back to Godhead, we will retain our identity as individual souls. And Supreme Lord is never cleavable. Supreme Lord never disintegrates into pieces as they think. And this is confirmed that soul is eternally individual. And now we'll understand super soul. The super soul is the one which maintains the soul. Paramatma is the one who is still residing beside the soul in the body. And we can understand it through the theory of reflection, which has been explained in purport. There says ki when theory a super soul who is present in each and every individual is body and known as Paramatma. There is a difference between individual and super soul. Like on in a sky, there are stars, sun, and the moon. And all these things have a reflection in water. All things are reflected in water separately. Stars are reflected separately, sun or the moon are reflected separately. The stars, which are small stars, are there, which those are represented by the living entities. And the sun or the moon is Supreme Lord. So here in this verse, we can say those reflection of the stars is Arjuna, who is deluded by Maya, and sun or the moon is the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is unchangeable and the supreme authority. And we should understand this also. The individual soul and the supreme soul are not at same level. Krishna is always superior to living entity. Uh, no one can become equal to Krishna. No one can become superior to Krishna. We are always under Krishna. Krishna is the supreme father, and Krishna is the most superior instructor of the all living entities in this universe. So our philosophy, which is there, it can be named as first point, spirit soul as eternal fragments, which the philosophy we can take out from this is spirit soul is a eternal fragment. Spirit soul is fallible, but Krishna is infallible. Fragmental portions exist eternally, known as Sanatana, but Krishna is but are Shara and fallible. They have a tendency to fall. But Krishna is infallible, Achyuta. Krishna never falls from his position. Krishna is always constant. And third point we can notice, soul never changes and it never merges into supreme soul. Even after liberation, spirit soul remains fragmental and retains its individual identity. And in previous verses also we can see, actually in Bhagavad Gita, there's a continuation of the verses. But I'm discussing about verse 2.13. But as we see in verse 2.11 and 2.12, Krishna is establishing something and he's giving his instructions in a continuity. So let's understand what Krishna is saying in previous verses also, so we can just regain a continuity. In verse 2.11, Krishna says that why you are mourning for what is not worth of grief. Those who are wise don't lament either for living nor for dead. Krishna is actually trying to explain Arjuna in each verses. Ki don't mourn for which is not worthy. In verse 2.12, Krishna says that ki never there was a time when I did not exist, you did not exist, nor these kings, nor in future shall any of us will cease to be. Means in past we existed, in present we are existing, and future we are going to exist. Through this verse, Krishna is just confirming the eternity of the soul. So this means that the soul is continuous. It has a continuous existence as an individual identity. And then now in this verse, Krishna is just explaining Arjuna regarding the changing of the soul through the bodies. So Krishna is explaining Arjuna in a very nice sequence that he should not lament for the things going on the battlefield, and he should do his duty without thinking about this. Now there comes ki Prabhupada says, there is a line in the verse, Dhiras tatra na muhyati. There is a line, Dhiras tatra na muhyati. It is a simple line. But most people don't understand what this line means. They cannot understand. Actually, a Dhira can understand that he should not be bewildered because he has a spiritual knowledge. But just the opposite, those people who cannot understand this, Dhiras Tatrana Muhyati, they are Adhira. Opposite of Dhira is Adhira. Who are Adhiras? They are third and the fourth class men. They are not gentlemen. They are uncultured men. And just we have discussed phases of life here. Kaumaram, Yovanam, Jara. So we should understand when it is Kaumaram, when it is Yovanam, and when it is Jara. Kaumaram is age up to 15 years. From 16th year, youth starts. And after 40 years, Jara starts. After 40 to 50, it can be said that primarily old man, and from 50, old man, we can consider. And two things also I want to clear. Dehi. What is Dehi and what is the Deha? Deha is the body, physical body, and Dehi is the proprietor of the body, that is the owner of the body, spirit soul. And forgetfulness is our nature. As Krishna has said, we has continued to exist in the past, we are existing in present, and we will continue to exist in future. But we don't remember this, but Krishna remember this. So forgetfulness is our nature. Forgetting, it does not mean things did not take place. Similarly, death means what I was in past life, now I'm in a different dress, but owner does not change. The difference is that God does not change this body. I change my body in this material world. But in spiritual world, there is no more change of the body. That is eternal. As Krishna has got his eternal body, that is Satchidanand Vigraha form, eternal, blissful and full of knowledge. When we go back to Godhead, then we will also get a similar body. And that is the difference. In material world, we forget everything. We forget our births. And then we think that this is the death and this is the end. But Krishna remembers everything. When Krishna comes, he does not change his body in this material world. Krishna does not change at all. Therefore, his name is Achyuta. He never changes, he never falls down because he is the controller of Maya. And we are being controlled by the Maya. So Krishna is the instructor, we are being instructed. So Krishna is the controller of the Maya and we are being controlled by the Maya. This is the difference between the supreme and a living body. We are being controlled by the material energy. Krishna is the controller of all energies. There are three energies we know: external energy, internal energy, and the marginal energies. So we are living entities, we are marginal energy. Marginal energy means we may come under the effect of external energy or under spiritual energy, as we like. The independence Krishna has given us. It is upon us what we want to choose and where we want to go to the next life. We are conditioned sold in this material world, and so we are suffering. So Krishna is not happy about this. Krishna is our father and we are like sons of Krishna. And Krishna is the chief, most supreme, powerful. Everyone is the servant of Krishna. Krishna is only master and we are changing our body, but Krishna does not change. Krishna remembers our past, present, future, everything he remembers. Krishna does not change in his body. And in Bhagavad Gita, in previous verses, in starting, Krishna had said that he remembers, and he said he has told this Bhagavad Gita to the sun god millions of years ago, 80 million years ago. And we don't remember even our past life. That is the key point we have to note. We are all living individual souls. We are eternal because we are changing body. Therefore, there is birth, death, old age, and disease. So Krishna consciousness movement is meant to get us out of this changing position and become permanent. And question may come to our mind: I'm eternal, then why I have been put into this temporary life? And this is an intelligent question which every living entity should inquire, which every living human being should inquire. People are careless about their real problem. They are very much alert about the temporary problem. Like today's world, we can see no one is caring about their death or what they will do after death. Everyone is like just thinking about the business, what I will do tomorrow, how much salary I'm earning, how much assets I have. These are the temporary pondings, temporary problems. But the real problem is death, but no one is concerned about this. Permanent problem is due to ignorance, and this is, we are not thinking about death. We are being held in the clutches of Maya, and that is all due to the main problem, and that is just the ignorance. We don't inquire about our Lord. We don't want to serve our Lord. We just want to serve our senses and enjoy in this life as if this is the only life we are. We think as the ostrich keeps his head in the sand, and he thinks that the hunters are not coming, the attackers are not coming. In the same way, human being thinks that this is the only life I have got, and I should rejoice this life, and I should not think about death, because anyone who he see, in fact, he sees anyone dying in front of him, but he thinks ki, oh, he is going to die, but I'm eternal. I'm not going to die. That is the mentality which keeps us away from the God. And there is also one line, Tatha Dehantar Prapti. Krishna says we existed in different body. Now we are existing in different body. And in future we will exist in different body. In this way we are transmigrating from one body to another. This is the sum and substance of this verse. Like in lifetime, people prepare for good job, good life. We should prepare for our next life so that we can get the spiritual body and go back to Godhead. We should understand that I'm not this body, I'm embodied within this body. We think that this body is ours, we should maintain, we should be in a good condition, we want luxury. But there is a very minute point we have to understand. We are embodied within this body, like a bird is trapped in the cage. In the same way, our soul is trapped in this body, and we have to free our soul from the material existence. And that is the sign of an intelligent person who thinks about this. We should understand that I'm not this body, I'm embodied within this body, encaged within this body. But I'm not this cage. We are suffering spirituals, and because why this is happening? Because we are suffering spiritual starvation. So no one is happy in this material world. Materially, we may be very opulent, but if we starve spiritually, we cannot be happy. This is the process. So spiritual rejuvenation is required. I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. We have to understand this very clearly, and then we will be happy. Krishna consciousness is the right subject matter to be studied by sane, sober person who is a dhira. And then the society will automatically be happy. Otherwise, it is not possible at all. Now we will come to overview of this verse, Bhagavad Gita verse 2.13. The soul is individual. Prabhupada rejects the Mayavadi theory of oneness, that all souls merge into one, asserting that every living entity is an individual soul. This individuality exists eternally in past, present, and future. We have discussed about this. Next point we can focus on is constant change, eternal incarnation, internal incarnation. Here it is explained that we are changing our bodies every moment. Medical science confirms that our cells are constantly being replaced, meaning body of a child is physically different from the body of an old man, yet soul inside remains the same. Soul does not change. Next point to note is death as transmigration. Death is simply the final change of an apartment or a dress in this life. Just as we don't lament when a child grows into a youth, a wise person does not grieve when the soul leaves a old, worn out body to accept a new one. Now, few differences we can understand through example. I've already said what is Deha, difference between Deha and Dehi. Deha is physical body, Dehi is the spirit soul. So we can understand that what is the nature of a Deha? Deha is temporary and changing. And what is the nature of a spirit soul? Spirit soul is eternal and unchanging. What are the stages that can be seen in a Deha? Boyhood, youth, old age. And what are stages in a Dehi? Dehi is always a constant observer. Dehi does not change. Then what is the fate of a Deha? Deha, it perishes at death. And fate of a Dehi, that is a spirit soul, it transmigrates into a new body. These are the three examples to nature, stages, and fate. We can just simply understand difference between the two. This verse explains the soul immortality through the body's natural changes. Here, Lord Krishna reassures Arjuna that death is not the end, it is just a transition. Here, Krishna also highlights that the soul, Dehi, remains unchanged amid bodily transformations, like childhood to old age, and at death enters a new body via reincarnation. A wise person recognizes this eternal nature to avoid delusion over temporary physical death. The soul is eternal and unchanging while the body is temporary. A real knowledge begins when one understands the distinction, and we have to know that no one truly dies in the ultimate sense. The soul continues its journey beyond the physical death. It shifts the perspective from temporary physical identity to eternal spiritual identity, and it encourages calmness, wisdom, and detachment in face of life changes. And it will is spiritual knowledge is always helpful for us. People, many of the people are very modernized. They think, why I'll acquire spiritual knowledge, and that is a waste of time. But in reality, spiritual knowledge is the thing which saves a person in um, danger of death, despair, and in sad situations. And that is why many person goes into depression, and there are many psychiatric illnesses are also increasing nowadays because they cannot handle day-to-day changes, day-to-day stresses, and they have lost their relative, they are bewildered. So, and they go into psychiatric problem. Previously, when we go back 20 or 30 years back in life, just in this 20, 30 years back in generation of our mother and father, in our relatives, there were less psychiatric illness. But today in our generation, everyone, 10 out of 2 is suffering from anxiety, one is depressed, one one has borderline personality disorder. So there are many psychiatric illness coming up. So as a generation, people think that the generation is advancing, but according to the advancement of Kali Yuga, diseases are also advancing. Main philosophical concept of this verse and purport, which we can extract are: first, we have understood already the distinction between the Deha and the Dehi. The physical body, the Deha, is a material vessel that is in a state of constant flux, boyhood, youth, and old age. And the soul is unchanging individual spark of life. Second, we can notice internal individuality, and that the soul is an eternally individual thing. And Prabhupada says that he has already refuted the Mayavadi theory regarding the fragment and the merging, and this supports the individuality of the soul. And he asserts also that just as we are an individual in this body, we were individual in our previous body also, and will remain unique individual in our next life also. Next point to note is transmigration as a nature law. The death, transmigration, reincarnation, these are the laws of the nature. Prabhupada reframes death not as an end, but as a natural transition. He compares the move from one body to another at death to move from childhood to youth. As a child grows and goes into young age and then old age, that is the same process is continuing. It is just that one is subtle and second is very distinct, and this is only the difference. And the logic we have to understand, when we don't mourn, when we have lost our childhood stage and we become young adults, then why we mourn when the soul changes the body at death? Because we don't have the spiritual knowledge. Next point to note is the presence of super soul, Paramatma. The Supreme Lord is also present within the heart alongside with the individual soul. In every individual, the individual soul makes choices, and the super soul witnesses, facilitates the transition to the next body based on those choices and as the soul desires. And this is the thing that at our last moment, it is said that what we think at the end moment of our life, we get a body like that. Paramatma always stays in our body, and he never interferes with our thinking. He has given us full independence. So it is said that we should do bhajan throughout our life, so that our mind is just trained in such a way that we remember Krishna at the end of our life. Because if someone has just wasted his life and not focused on Krishna throughout in his life, he will not remember at Krishna as at his end. He may think about money at his end. He may think about his wife, his children. And if he thinks about his wife, he'll get a body of female in next life. If he loves swimming and he thinks about swimming at death, he'll become a fish in next life. And if he is very lusty in this life, then he will acquire the body of a tree in next life. So all depends on the desires. And the spiritual knowledge transforms the desires. This purport also defines Dhira as a sober person who has attained perfect spiritual knowledge. Knowledge is just not just the fact, it is realization that I am not this body. Adhira is not bewildered by death because they see the mechanism behind this. They understand that the person has not disappeared, they have simply reallocated. Next, one of the main philosophical concept to see is the critique of soulless science. Prabhupada uses this purport to challenge the idea of that the scientists say that life comes from the combination of chemicals. He argues that in this life, when if life was because of the chemicals, we could restart the dead body by just adding the missing chemicals. But scientists and the modern science cannot prove this. So life does not come from chemicals. Actually, life stays because soul is there in the body. And few concepts also we have to focus. Just will understand which concepts are difficult to understand in this verse. That is we can count just the eternal individuality of the soul. Many people are bewildered. They don't know the difference, what Mayavadis are doing, what is the main theory we have to understand. So our concept should be very clear that the individual soul is always eternal. Soul has its individuality. Prabhupada also explained that the soul never loses its individual identity. Modern spiritualism often teaches us we are like drops of water and eventually will merge into the ocean, becoming one with the God. Prabhupada argues that this is impossible. We are connected to God but still separate. We'll not merge like drops of water in the ocean. Second difficult concept is the distinction between Atma and Paramatma. Many people don't understand this. Prabhupada introduces the two bird concepts and for the just simple understanding of Atma and Paramatma. There's a branch and two birds are sitting. One bird is the Paramatma and other one is the Atma. Paramatma watches and witnesses Atma doing everything but does not interfere in their actions. So Paramatma stays in every individual throughout the journey without interfering with individuals' free will. Now we'll come to Sanskrit synonyms in verse 2.13. Just we'll understand what is the simple meanings of the Sanskrit words which have been given in the verse. Dehina. Dehina means embodied, that is the soul. Asmin, in this body, physical body. Yatva, as. Dehe, in this body. Kaumaram, that is boyhood, childhood stage. Yovanam, youth, adulthood. Jara, old age. Tatha, similarly, same as we can say. Dehantar prapti. Dehantara means transference of the body to another body. Prapti means achievement, obtainment. So Dehantara Prapti can be just called as transmigration of the soul. Dhira, the sober, the wise, or the self-realized. Tatra, thereupon. Na, never, not. And Muhyati is deluded. A dhira, tatra na muhyati. A sober person is never deluded. And key terms are Dehina versus Dehi. Dehi is the container body. Dehina is the owner embodied soul. The Kaumaram, Yovanam, and Jara represents the timeline of a single life. Reincarnation is not just something that happens at the end of life. It is a continuous process of changing bodies that we are already experiencing. Dehantara, it means another body or the interchange of bodies. It frames not as an exit, but as a transference, much like moving from one house to the another. It is not that the individual has died, he is lost. It should not be understood like that. When an individual dies, he has been relocated to the new body. And Dhira, this is one of the most important words in this verse and in Bhagavad Gita also. The sober, which I have all repeatedly been discussing. Only a sober person can see the truth of death without being muhyati. Muhyati is deluded or bewildered. In a sentence, we can catch this. Dhira and muhyati. Now we'll talk about key philosophical points supported by related Sanskrit verses. We have discussed soul is eternal and unchanging. The main point of verse 2.13 is that dweller remains the same while the body changes. This is supported by Bhagavad Gita verse 2.20, which defines the soul birthless and deathless nature. It is as न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूय अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. It confirms that while the body goes through Kaumaram, boyhood, and Jara, old age, the soul never undergoes these changes. It is primitive Purana. Soul is unborn, eternal, ever existing. It is not slain when the body is slain. Second is a body is just like a dress. It is said in this verse, body is just like a dress. Reincarnation, as we should take reincarnation as natural transition. The concept of Dehantara Prapti, achieving another body, from Bhagavad Gita verse 2.13 is illustrated in Bhagavad Gita verse 2.22. वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नावानि घृणाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. As a person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts the new material bodies, giving up the useless ones. It reinforces that death is simply a soul discarding a worn out garment for a new one. Third, the individuality of soul, and it can be supported by verse Bhagavad Gita verse 2.112. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipa na chaivam na bhavishyama sarve vayamatah param. Krishna tells Arjuna that there was never a time when the Arjuna nor the kings did not exist, nor will they cease to be in future. This provides proof of individuality. This verse introduced the soul eternality, countering the Arjuna's body identification and materialistic view of death, and all souls have always existed and will continue to do so beyond the current moment. The presence of super soul Paramatma, and it is supported by Bhagavad Gita verse 13.23. उपद्राष्टु मन्ता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वर परमात्मेति चापयुक्तो देहस्मिन् पुरुषपरा. Prabhupada, this verse describes the Lord in the heart as Updrashta, observer, witness, and Anusmanta as permitter. He is the one who facilitates the prapti, achievement of the next body based on the soul's desires. So, synthesis of all this we can understand is Bhagavad Gita verse 2.13 is the foundational verse because it uses everyday experience to prove metaphysics, established Atma body distinction, prepares for detachment and karma yoga. It essentially assures why should one not grieve, because what truly exists, the self never undergoes the loss. We can focus on the point on contemporary preaching. Bhagavad Gita verse 2.13 addresses on the nature of the identity, continuity of the soul, and beyond physical existence. So, just as a person transitions from childhood to old age without losing their identity, in the same way, soul continues the journey to another body. And next, for preaching, this verse can normalize life transitions. It can helps in normalizing grief counseling, and it also has use in hospice ministry. Next, the jolt of abrupt change. While gradual changes like aging does not give grief, but sudden change, death, provides a deep grief which people cannot come out. So through eyes of knowledge, we can understand, we can remain steady during sudden life crisis. Then we should also know that there is identity beyond the body. We are just the container. This body is just a container, but the occupier, Dehina, is eternal. Simple things we can understand is through examples. Changing clothes, as we have read, changing clothes can be compared to changing bodies. Season changing is that the life stages. Komaram, Yovanam, Jara. Changing clothes like a body, soul discards the old body, goes to the new body. And through the example of driver and car, we can just understand soul and the body. Body is just a vessel and the main owner is soul. So driver and car. Driver is just driving the car. Practical life applications which we can see is dealing with aging, body, accepting body changes very gracefully, we should focus on inner growth, facing the death. This reduces the despair and gives us hope and continuity in life. And it brings also emotional stability and helps to detach from temporary situations like success, failure, gain, or loss. And ethical living. Everyone should know that there are karmic reactions, so people have to be ethical because people should know that there's a life beyond life. And the key preaching points we can focus is there is identity beyond the body, which will help the people think beyond physical appearance, age, or social labels. The change is natural, not final. So it is not, it is tragic, it seems tragic, but actually it is not tragic. Fear of death comes from misunderstanding the change. So we have to understand the Shastras so we can take it gracefully. It encourages the long term spiritual thinking instead of short term materialism. And spiritual knowledge brings wisdom, which ultimately leads to steadiness in life. Develop calmness in loss, aging, uncertainty. Spiritual knowledge stabilizes our mental health. And there is detachment with stable responsibility. Understanding the temporary nature of the body does not mean neglecting it. It means proper engagement without attachment. And for the application, we can see work, relationship, and duty should be performed with balance, not obsession. Theological applications is which we can conclude from this verse is we are not this body. So this refutes our bodily identity. Teaching on grief, aging, illness, and help people see that loss or change of the body is lost, not the loss of the person. The soul remains the same. Then affirmation of the soul, Atma. The same consciousness I was present in childhood, youth, old age, and shows that there is unchanging consciousness entity behind the changing body. Theological application includes the basis of incarnation. Death is not annihilation, but a transition into another body, material or ultimately spiritual, depending on the karmas of every individual. It gives a pastoral comfort in death and grief. In funeral care, counseling, consoling families, there is applied. And further, it can go for theology, anthropology also, which questions who am I? This verse becomes the starting point for a deeper self-inquiry. If I'm not this changing body, who am I? Then critique of bodily self-image in modern life. This verse can be used theologically to critique modern obsession with body image, youth, and cosmetic permanence. Since the body is acknowledged as a temporary anyway, the youth and should understand that the value system is based on the shastras, and they should inquire who am I rather than they're focusing on the physical appearance. Now we can take some points and then we can see what are the typical application. Identity, we talk about identity. Soul is not the body. Continuity, soul outlives the body, and this supports the reincarnation. Wisdom, dhira, is not bewildered, and this cultivates the spiritual society. Death, we can take death as transition, and it is helpful in pastoral care at funerals also. Anthropology, which asks who am I, theological anthropology, foundation, and it encourages self-inquiry and Vaishnav theology, and a person can become a Vaishnav in future through his self-inquiry. Prabhupada moods and mission. Prabhupada's mood in this verse is with a deep urgency to awaken spiritual identity. He stresses that we are not the body, we are eternal soul. It is not just philosophy. He wants readers to see that the truth is everyday life. We have already changed body from childhood to adulthood. He emphasizes becoming steady and undisturbed by bodily changes, including the death. Devotional foundation. Understanding the soul is the first step towards Krishna consciousness. It establishes the devotional foundation also. Prabhupada's mood is of compassionate boldness. Prabhupada called modern civilization as polished animalism because it focuses not on changing bodies, childhood to old age, while ignoring the unchanging owner of the body. His mood was that he frequently challenged scientists to explain why life is just chemical. They cannot replace the soul when it leaves. Right? They cannot make a dead body alive by adding some chemicals. Prabhupada says that this verse 2.13 Bhagavad Gita verse is ABC of spiritual life. His mood suggests that unless one understands this basic distinction between body and soul, all further religious or social task is a waste of time. The mission, Prabhupada mission has a very Prabhupada has a very specific mission for this verse. One is defeating impersonalism, Mayavadi theory, opposing the idea that soul merges into the void or a light. Second is Prabhupada's mission is to introduce the science of soul into universities. Third is the creating dhira, sober leaders. His mission is to train a class of leaders who are dhira, undisturbed. He believed that if leaders understand this verse, they will not be deluded by national, racial, or sectarian labels, leading to global unity. To defeat bodily identification, that I'm not this body, establish the reality of the soul, prepare the person for Krishna consciousness, reducing fear of death, encouraging spiritual inquiry, and lead one towards devotion to Krishna. And Prabhupada also uses a apartment metaphor also. The body is like a rented apartment. We move from a small one, like in childhood, to a larger one in youth, and to a diseased one in the old age. And finally, the landlord, that is the nature, Krishna, moves us to a new building entirely. And this is the phase of life. The changing dress concept. The death is no more significant than changing a suit of clothes. And now we'll focus on Shastra Chakshu. What is Shastra Chakshu? Means seeing through the eyes of the scripture. We cannot understand the soul or life's deeper truth by material sense alone. We must see reality through Shastra, revealed scriptures, and guidance of realized teachers. Just like we are using glasses to see clearly, Shastra acts as spiritual vision. So Shastra Chakshu makes us see that the illusion of the end. People fear death because their physical eye sees a stop. Using Shastra Chakshu, we can understand that beyond death, there is next life also. This is a vital tool for hospice care, grief counseling, and shifting the vision from total loss to transition. Next, curing social blindness. Racism, nationalism are the real results of Mama Chakshu, that seeing only through the dress, that is the seeing through the material eyes. Applying Shastra Chakshu to verse 2.13 allows a person to see the equal, eternal individual inside every changing body, which is only real foundation for the universal brotherhood. Through Shastra Chakshu, we can look at a 10-year-old photo of ourselves, and we can understand every cell in that photo is gone, replaced biologically. Yet we know that we are same person. This proves that the identity is independent of biological matter. The changing dress of the world around us is obsessed with new look, new technology, new fashion, new bodies. This verse identifies the body as garment or as the container, and this is supported by one verse also. Bhagavad Gita verse 2.22. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani nanyani samyati navani dehi. And through Shastra Chakshu, we can understand the delusion of label. The soul is same regardless of the skin color or nationality. We separate ourselves calling caste, creed, nationality, but soul inside everyone is same. That does not discriminate. And
you give time for asking question. Your time going to end. You have only 6 minute time. Audience has to give their opinion. You have to ask question to them.
yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Did you finish your lecture?
Prabhuji, 3 points are left.
Okay, complete.
Through Shastra Chakshu, we can deal with the volatile word, the dhira. The modern world is characterized by high anxiety and fear of future. The dhira is not bewildered by the inevitable transitions of life. So Shastra Chakshu helps us to stay calm. And it also teaches us the soul is eternal. I would like to conclude my topic through the practical detachment. That is not non-bewilderment. The wise are not bewildered by these changes. A spiritually aware person does not panic at change. They understand the death, aging, loss as natural transition. So what we observe and Bhagavad Gita interpretation, we can just understand in short at last that aging bodies, the people are aging, we can take it as changing clothes and not self-changing. Self is constant. Death is the transition of the soul to another body. Third, growth and decline. These are the natural stages of material form. Identity based on appearance, that is the misidentification of self with body. Emotional attachment to all forms, it is the rooted in illusion of permanence. The world we see is temporary manifest like waves on the ocean. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You can ask question to the audience.
If anyone has any question, please ask me.
Regarding on this topic.
Regarding this topic, if anyone has any question, please ask.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, in the Mataji, sorry, in the beginning you talked about the cosmic consciousness. That's the first time I've heard this word. Can you discuss something about this? The cosmic consciousness. We have heard the word cosmic manifestation.
Prabhuji, in Mayavadi theory, actually, it is related to Mayavadi theory. They think they believe on the Brahma Jyoti. That is the cosmic consciousness. They think that we are going to merge in that, which in our theory we understand it as a spiritual effulgence of the Lord, and we don't focus on it because we are the devotees of Lord. But Mayavadi is like they think that Lord does not have form. They does not believe on the form of the Lord, and that is that they only believe that there is a jyoti all over the Brahmand, and that is the cosmic consciousness, and we are going to merge in the main consciousness. That they think that the Lord is a main conscious cosmic who is controlling everything is in the form of a jyoti or the consciousness which is not visible.
Right.